across the World Wide Web, on your mobile devices, on social media platforms. This is Jambo Radio! www.jamboradio.co.uk. We are multilingual. We are conversational in the languages you best understand. We are Jambo Radio! Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
Hello, and welcome back to Love on Stereo with Holly on Jambo Radio. So I'm from Stripe Right, Scotland's premier dating agency for the Afro-Caribbean community. So welcome back. If you were listening last Friday, I know you had a great time, so it's going to be another great time tonight. Today we're talking about Flirting 101. As we all know, love is in the air. Valentine's Day is around the corner. So today I'm going to be sharing some advice on building chemistry and looking at the kind of psychology behind flirting and how we can make those first impressions really count. So if you want to join into the conversation tonight, you can call us directly on the studio on 0141 530 2787. You can also message us on WhatsApp on 0745 990 6822. And if you are on social media, you can also message us on Facebook, that's Jambo Radio Scotland, or Swipe Right HQ. On Twitter, we are at Jambo Radio 1. And on Instagram, we are at jamboradio.scotland, or my Instagram, and that is at swiperight.hq. You can also email us directly at info at jamboradio.co.uk, or directly to my team at hq.swiperight@gmail.com. So if you haven't already yet, you can also now download our mobile Jambo Radio app, available in the App Store on iPhone or iOS devices. So welcome back, listeners. Valentine's Day is fast approaching, and I wanted to dive into the art of flirting, explore all of those little cues that come with it, what to do, what not to do. And staying tuned today, I'll be able to give you the skills required to secure that bae before the big day in a couple of weeks. And also, in line with the big day, we have a special contest for 2 lucky lovers. So do stay tuned until the end of the show, where Swipe Right HQ will be announcing a contest for you lucky lovers. So if you're taking part today, please do send us your flirting tips and we will mention them on the show. Or actually, do you not care about Valentine's Day? Is it like just another capitalist holiday that you don't want to take part in? That's fine. Either way, get involved. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So I wanted to start off today with a song to set the mood. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of radio shows, they include music, and as beautiful as my dulcet tones are, I feel like we got to add some more music. So here is Kabza De Small and DJ Maforisa with Hello featuring Madume. Actually, there's another song. It could all work. So we're going to be doing Closer by Oxide. I hope I'm saying that right. Do correct me if I'm not. So welcome back. That was Oxide with Closer. And as I was saying about setting the tone, I really feel like that song does set the tone, because tonight I want to help you all get closer. See what I did there? I want to help you get closer to your how do I want to say, loved one, to your potential loved one as we go forward into the big day. So let's get into it. Cupid's love book. Would I call it Cupid's playbook? Let's say. Let's get into it. Is there a one size fits all to flirting, or does it actually depend on the mood that you're in, or even the environment that you're in, or even the person that's in front of you? Truthfully, I would say be yourself, because that's the coolest style. Am I right? I don't know if you've seen this film called Just Friends, and the mom, I think it's the mom, sings to the son, be yourself, be yourself. And that is really a serious message, you know. Be genuine in the arena of flirting. Confidence is a game changer. Like, you know, you don't have to be Barney from, I think it's How I Met Your Mother. You know, you don't have to be that kind of confident, but you can be confident in a lot of different ways. You know, I think that word, when you think of that, you think of like, you know, a lad's lad, or, you know, like a really loud person. But no, there's a quiet confidence that you can have in yourself. Standing tall, making eye contact with the person sitting next to you, standing next to you. Of course, not too intense, because there is such thing as too much eye contact. So, you know, balance the line. You'll know what feels right. You should know what feels right. You know, we're all adults here. Talking with a little bit of flair. You know, don't be monotone when you're speaking to someone. You're not in HR. You're not at an interview. You're trying to flirt. You know, these little simple tricks can actually help you elevate that, you know, that game, as they say on the streets, of yours. So the golden rule of flirting, and I hope that, you know, at Swipe Right, we deal with people who are over 24. And I think that at that age, we should all know what the golden rule of flirting is, and that's listening. And if you didn't know that, that's okay. This is a safe space. There is no judgment. But certainly, truly listening can make your connection stronger. And a lot can go wrong when you miss that mark, you know. So I'm going to list off a few, according to me as an expert, some tips for becoming a top-notch listener, really. So we'll go through them. Call in, let me know if you agree or disagree with these. But certainly, I'm here to share some advice on, you know, bringing you closer, as the song says. So let's get through them. First on my list, I've got avoid interruptions. Now, this is very important because, you know, if you're speaking and someone interrupts you, how do you feel? And that's the same on the other side. If you interrupt someone else, that's exactly how they will feel. However, we're dating with a kind of cultural awareness lens on, right? And I think that there's some cultures where interruptions are considered a way of listening. You know, you're someone speaking over you, and you're repeating each other, or, you know, you're coming in before they finish speaking, and that's, you know, acknowledging that you're speaking and you're listening to each other. But in other cultures, it's actually quite rude to stop someone mid-sentence and, you know, add your tidbit. But I think if you're dating someone or looking to date someone, you should really understand where they stand on that. Maybe you've spoken before online, or maybe you're speaking in person. Gauge the system, see how it feels. You know, are they for interruptions? Are they not for? You know, you can even ask them. I mean, I guess you can't really ask, do you like me interrupting you as you speak? But I think there's some said, unsaids that you can kind of go with the flow and see how it feels. But certainly, interruptions are, you know, more or less considered rude, I would say, you know, unless it's a certain type of specific interruption. And next up, we have show affirmation. You know, if someone is speaking, you can just say, really, you know, wow, you know, don't be bad at it, but certainly affirm that you're listening. And, you know, if you do that, you know, someone says, you say something and then someone says, really, you can be like, yeah, you can speak more about it. But if someone's completely quiet and, you know, as much eye contact as they might be making, and they're not doing any interruptions, if they're not affirming what you're saying, you might become self-conscious and be like, oh, maybe I should stop talking. Maybe I'm talking too much about this. And you start to overthink. So certainly affirming someone that what they're saying is A, making sense, or B, quite interesting. It's a good way to kind of keep the flirting going. And, you know, repeat back what they're saying, rephrase, you know, I run at 5 a.m. every day, you know, and then you can be like, wow, you run at 5 a.m. every day, you know, in a much more genuine voice. But of course, that can be a sort of a way to confirm, did I hear that right? Or even a way to encourage them to talk more about running at 5 a.m. You know, it's a really good way to avoid misunderstandings as well, you know, and ask open-ended questions. You know, we all know what's your favorite color. We all know how many siblings do you have, but how open-ended is that? You know, there is a stop to that. I think another way you can perhaps phrase that, if you really want to know how many siblings I got, you know, you can say something like, what was your situation growing up, or what was it like growing up for you? And I think that can open up the question of or the answer of, oh, I grew up with 6 siblings in this kind of house, and, you know, that kind of thing, rather than saying I have 6 siblings. okay, now what? Where do we go from here? That can stop the conversation and stop the flow. But if you ask these open-ended questions, you can end up steering the conversation further away from where you even started from. And it can feel like you guys are naturally flowing together, and express similar interests. If someone is telling you about how they grew up and the little things that they did when they were younger, you can be like, oh, you did boxing? I did karate. I don't know. Is that similar? I wouldn't know. But, it's a sport in my head, right? So you can find a way to tie things together to help the conversation flow and be like, you did this, I did this, or I did something similar, maybe for 1 week, maybe I've done it my whole life. There's a way you can find little connections because people are looking to connect in little ways. And I think affirming that you have similar interests could, tick those boxes of like, okay, maybe we can find something similar as this relationship goes forward as well. And we can dabble in something together. And, avoid judgments, okay? If someone is like, oh, I grew up in a 8-bedroom mansion, don't just call their parents a Tory and leave it there. Like, even on the opposite, but certainly nobody's here to be judged. When you're dating or when you're flirting with someone, oftentimes you're kind of starting out, you're starting to get to know each other, especially in this Flirting 101 class. If you become negative, if you put forward judgmental statements, it can be quite harsh and people can pull back from that. So do avoid that when you're trying to, get your game face on. Excuse me. And as well, this falls into the allow pauses, right? In terms of expressing similar interests, right? I want you guys to allow a pause. If someone says, I play tennis, don't just jump in and be like, oh, me also, I play tennis. Give it time to settle in. Maybe the other person is still thinking how much more they want to talk about tennis. Maybe they've had a terrible experience with tennis, but now you've not let that pause sit and now you're going to jump in and praise tennis so much. I think that there's nothing wrong with pauses. A pause is different from an awkward silence. Let's get that out of the way. You know what I mean? You can have a little drink to allow maybe the question to simmer. Maybe you've asked a question. Let the person digest it. That's okay. Or maybe you're the one who's thinking about it. You can even say, can I have a moment to think about that? Not in an HR voice, but certainly, in a friendly way to be like, that's an interesting question. Let me think about that a little. And I think doing that, instead of just being quiet, can allow for that awkward silence to kind of move away from awkward silence and into, oh, this is a genuine pause in this conversation. And again, avoid distractions as much as possible. This goes back to interruptions, right? And I think interruptions are a lot different from distractions, because I think you can go through an interruption, it's a quick one, but a distraction, having your phone on the table. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're perhaps expecting an important call, right? You can be like, hey, person I'm dating, I'm expecting an important call. I'll be checking my phone every X. You've set an expectation, that's okay, but constantly checking for a notification, constantly looking over your shoulder, for example, say, it depends on the environment you're in, right? If you've gone to a bar and maybe there's a TV at the back and your eyes keep falling over to it, you can just be like, listen, can we swap seats, because I just keep looking over at that TV. And it just makes the person feel connected to the conversation and like you're giving them your time. Have you ever been speaking to someone and suddenly they're like checking their clock, they're checking their wristwatch, and you think, oh, sorry, I'm taking up your time. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is a distraction that can lead to a negative review of the date. But certainly it is something that can be quite jarring if someone isn't paying attention to you. Like, okay, maybe you're not making eye contact 100% of the time, but a distraction is very much different from my eyes are making eye contact with you and always looking away, looking at the waitress is passing by, I must look, the cars are going past, I must look, there's a natural way that you can look at stuff without completely losing, focus in who you're dating. And I think finally, share your thoughts, create a balanced dialogue. I think I've spoken to a few people and I feel like sometimes they'll say things like, I went on a date and they didn't ask me any questions. And I find that quite jarring, to be like, how can you sit across the table from someone and not have anything to say to them, or to ask, what's your favorite color? Blue. Okay, what's yours? Even that, okay, what's yours? Like, that's such a simple question to ask. But I think in terms of sharing your thoughts, you can, if you have no thoughts to share, that's okay. You know, sometimes you're tired after work. You've got nothing to think about. You know, talk about what they've just talked about. Try and make it seem like, think about tennis has really come up a lot today. I don't know why. Maybe it's in the air. Is Wimbledon soon? Who can say? Create a balanced dialogue in terms of, think about playing tennis with a little ball, right? You can only really play tennis with two people. Well, you can play with more, but you know what I mean. Like, try and not let the ball fall too much on one side of the court. Or am I here explaining tennis rules? I hope you understand what I'm saying. Create a balanced dialogue as much as possible, because that just creates a better date. You know, there's no awkward silences, or as many as they could be. It shows interest in the person across the table from you. So, and the best thing about, well, for me, we're all different people, and I think we can all seek different things, but I think humor is a great tool in terms of flirting. I'd like to ask, do you think humor is the best tool for breaking the ice? I do, but that's a personal preference. You might not. And of course, not everyone does. I've certainly met someone who says humor is an ick. And I found that very interesting because, again, we're all very different people, but I think not everyone can be funny. Not everyone should be funny. And that's okay. You don't have to lead into the date. You know, you don't have to be Cat Williams in that interview. And we all know the interview that I'm talking about. You know, if you're not funny, that's okay. But if you can be, it's a great way to break the ice. Absolutely. And I'd like for you guys to message or call in and share some easy ways that you think you can bring humor into the chat, because I think some people do really struggle with this subject. And I have got a few things to kind of help you along with that, right? So I think if you are someone who struggles with humor, you can approach it as a subject. You know, you can be like, what am I going to do on this date to be a more charming and funny person? Okay, you can think, share some light anecdotes. You know, you'd be like, I'm going to talk about the last date I had that was an absolute flop. Why did it flop so badly? You know, if maybe this same date is going the same way and you're just drawing those parallels. I don't know. I hope it's not. I really hope it's not. There's also self-deprecating humor. Now, this one is a fine line. You know, there's some cultures that accept this and some that really don't. You know, I think specifically an African country that I won't mention. I don't want to be cancelled. You say something like, oh, you know, I'm dying, and someone can jump in and say, you will not die in Jesus' name. You know, there's those kinds of things that are like, also, if you are too self-deprecating, it can become a sort of like, are you a victim? Like, what's going on there? Like, should I be worried about you? So if you can't be very funny, I would maybe stay away from this one. But if you can do it, it can be a very good way to break the ice and make the other person feel more comfortable, like around being with you in that moment or in that time. You know, being on a date and trying to flirt, you're so self-conscious of yourself. So if someone takes the attention away from you or onto themselves, it can be a nice way to bring you guys together. And there's also playful teasing that can be quite funny. And I think that online, I think Nigerian girls have got this kind of reputation of playful teasing in terms of flirting. So it'll be like, they'll be like, hey, big head, or, you know, so you think you're fine, all these things. And I think that's funny and that's fun, but think about the person that you're flirting with. Can they take that? You know, can they take the playful teasing? Because you could say to someone, oh, so you think you're fine, and they might be really insecure about that. You know, they might, you'd be like, oh, look at your big head, look at you and your eyebrows. To someone else, that's like, hey, you're being cheeky, you're flirting. To someone else, they can be like, oh, the eyebrows I spent 6 to 17 minutes on doing, that's the one you're making fun of. So just be careful in this playful teasing area. I think know who you're dealing with specifically, girl or boy, either way. I think this goes both ways. You can have similar insecurities via both sexes, so definitely be careful with this one. But it can be quite funny if you're both, you know, on the same wavelength. There's also observational humor, but I think this one goes into the be careful with this one as well, because if you're not funny, it can be quite harsh. I don't want you to meet someone in a wherever you are, and then suddenly you're ripping everyone around you. Someone walks and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this one, they look like that. Could be like, whoa, hello. We don't have to be rude about people. If you're observation humor doesn't mean rip the piss out of everything that you see. It's a gentle balance. So do stay away if you can't do it well. I think this one is for perhaps the pros. But if you have been dating someone, perhaps this is the first date, this is your first IRL flirt session. Think about what you've been doing like online. Have you been sending memes? Bring those up, bring those back up. Or if you are on your way, as I said, to treat this as a project, if you're on your way to the date, you can be like, oh, okay, let me look up some similar memes. And then you can bring that up like, oh, I saw this and I thought of you, or look at this little video. And that can perhaps break up and lead into a little hee hee ha ha that breaks the ice and falls back into that rhythm that you had online. Because I think a lot of the times there can be a disconnect. I've heard people say, the person I was speaking to online is completely different to the person that showed up on the date. I don't know, what was their friend texting for them? Was an AI texting for them? Like, what is the difference? And I think bridging that gap by, perhaps bringing the conversations that you were having online into the offline sphere can be a nice way to kind of get funny again. And playful questions. Again, this one's perhaps for specific people, but it's a tip nonetheless. These are sort of questions that you're like, would you rather have toes for hands or elbows for feet? Really silly things that can maybe help you tap into, how does this person think? Are they creative? Are they weird? Do they match my vibe? That kind of thing. They don't mean anything. I wouldn't read into it in any kind of psychological matter, but it means that if you're finding it hard to kind of get the conversation going, these can be a really weird way to kind of get the flow of the conversation started. And lastly, and perhaps as a very last resort, chat up lines. But again, I think, in my opinion, that these should be used ironically. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a very specific type of person that can get away with a chat up line. If you approach someone with a chat up line, you have to have the confidence behind it. You have to have the Barney from How I Met Your Mother type confidence to kick this one off, because certainly they can fall flat. But if you're using it ironically, I think that you can have a chat up line battle, and that could be really, really funny. Or a really good tip is, if you've been speaking online and they are really into, again, tennis, or it could be whatever that they're into. Before you come up to meet them, Google it, tennis chat up lines. And I think that's a nice way to break up the ice, or whatever their job is, a chat up line in that field. I think, you can have a plethora of them. So with chat up lines, approach with caution, but certainly you don't have to stay away from them, but they're a really light way of like getting the flirting going. So, and another key element of the Flirting 101 is mastering the art of compliments. This is going to take your game to the next level. Surely, if you become a pro at this, you're fantastic. But the caveat to this is you've got to be specific. What makes a compliment genuine and effective is if you are specific. Compliment the person, not the appearance. Of course, compliment the appearance. Keep it real. If someone is looking good, don't be afraid to tell them you look good. Do you always look like this, or have you made an effort for me? Wow. Don't use that. But I'm just saying, when I say compliment the person, not the appearance, I mean, don't overly compliment the appearance. Acknowledge that someone looks good, absolutely, but be specific about perhaps their work, past achievements, their skills, even their personality. Everybody wants to be different. As much as, when you're younger, you want to be the same as everyone. But when you grow up, you want to think, oh, I'm an individual. So if someone really highlights, I like your personality, I think that I've not met anyone like you before, whatever it is, that can really elevate the compliment from just being, I like your braids to something really interesting that I can like chew on later on my way home. And think about the kind of tone and the volume of what your compliment is saying, because you can say one thing in a completely different, and it can be received in a completely different way. You know, where are you? Do you have to be that loud? Or maybe I can't even hear you and you're speaking too now you've repeated off 6 times and now the compliment is sounding a bit funny. You know, be aware of your surroundings, especially in public settings. You know, be mindful as well of the kind of cultural differences or even personality types. Like maybe the person you're dating isn't into compliments and they just kind of feel overwhelmed when you're like, oh, I like this, I love that, you know, you did this well. Maybe it's too much. Have you been speaking online? You know, have you been speaking in person? Have you picked up whether they're like into it or not? You know, be mindful of that, because some people love to be showered in compliments and that would be a fantastic date for them, but other people would be like, yo, I felt like I was drowning. So be careful, maybe not careful, but certainly be mindful of the personality type that you're dating, certainly. And guys, timing really matters. Be selective and don't overdo it. You know, you've just met someone, they've not even taken off their jacket and suddenly you're complimenting their hair. Like, okay, you know, that might be fine, but watch your timing. You know, you don't just pluck it out of the air and say, I think you're great at this. Have they just talked about that thing, you know, or did they talk about it previously, but there's no way you can thread it in? Find a segue to bring that compliment in. Don't just drop something out of nowhere and, you know, expect them to receive it kindly. But as well, on the other side of things, accept compliments gracefully. I think that this one goes out to a lot of you, and if this one's for you, if you're listening, I think there's a lot of I've complimented a lot of people, and I think that recently I said to this lady, oh, I really love your jacket, and she was like, oh this one, oh no, I got this 4 years ago from New Look, and I'm like, okay babe, I didn't ask that, you know, just say thank you. And I think there's like a double thing to that, where I've heard some men say, oh, she's pretty, but she knows it. Okay, and, you know, but also if you are receiving a compliment, what's wrong with you just saying thank you? You don't have to explain the reason why you look that good or you've done that thing. Just say thank you gracefully and be like, yeah, thank you. And then the other person also be like, you're welcome. Don't just be suddenly taken aback because someone has accepted the compliment that you've given so freely. So, and finally, body language. Have you ever thought someone's vibe was off? It's their body language. It's these like subconscious little cues that they give off that you pick up and you're like, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's this. Learning how to read these subtle cues is really important in, you know, the art of flirting. It's basically non-verbal communication, and if you get this down, you're gonna become a pro. But basically, how do you know without words what the person across from you is thinking, or how do you know if they're feeling your vibe at all? That's what we're going to go through right now, so you can learn how to connect the dots quite easily. So I think the easiest way to tell, you know, don't be in the club with your shades on, first of all, because eye contact is very important in flirting. Again, not too intense, but I think if you're looking for the non-verbal cues, you're going to be looking at how much eye contact are they making with me. Those kind of mirroring movements, they're also a sign of connection. You know, they could indicate someone is connected subconsciously. By that I mean, when you drink, they drink. You know, when you look away, they look away. You kind of cross your legs, they cross their legs. All these little things, they're small, subtle things. Personal space. You know, are you somewhere that perhaps you're facing a bar, right? You're both ordering a drink, but the person is now facing you instead of facing the bar. These little things can say that you are, you know, your whole body is changed to face them. You're interested in them. People say as well, the direction of feet is an important one. I don't know how much I believe that, but of course, experts say that it's a thing to look out for in terms of, is this person low-key into this? And light touches as well, initiating contact. You know, Are they reaching in for a little handshake, a little cheeky kiss, like, of course, with consent? But all these things indicate that low-key, I'm into, the vibe is vibing well. And I think other things to look out for non-verbally is posture, slouching. Where are you? Is the person across from you really slouching? Are they looking too cool for school? I don't know. Is that interesting? Is that boring? Is that off-putting? Of course, you want someone to be sat upright and give you their full attention. Fidgeting with the phone, jewelry, folding the tissues back and forward. These are all things to be mindful of, because obviously don't point it out and be like, excuse me, I noticed that you are fidgeting quite a lot. Am I making you nervous? But these things can signal self-consciousness. So if you look out for those, maybe the topic that you've brought up is quite uncomfortable, or whatever it is, like be mindful of these little things that someone's not going to say to you, but you can look out for. Raised eyebrows, good and bad. What have you just said? Is it a good raised eyebrow? Or, continue talking about that. Is it a funny one? Is it a weird one? Clarify yourself so it's not weird. But again, as much as these things all work, it is down to individual preference and cultural differences. All these things can really influence how you interpret these cues. So really be mindful of that. Actually, have you guys watched, there's a show on Netflix called Love on the Spectrum, and it's really interesting. It's about people with autism disorder, and they're about finding love. And I think that their lack of understanding social cues is very interesting. And I think that if you are not on the spectrum, it could be a lot easier when you know what to look for. It'd be a lot easier for you to understand what these are. So become attuned to these non-verbal cues and enhance your ability to connect with that special someone. So with that in mind, I think we will head into the next song, which is let me get this name right. Okay, in fact, we can keep moving on. But if you do want to contact us and share your flirting tips, please join the conversation. You can call us directly on 0141 530 2787. You can download, also you can send us a WhatsApp message or voice note on 0745 990 6822. And if you are on social media as well, please message us on Facebook, Jambo Radio Scotland, and on Twitter, now X, Jambo Radio 1. And on Instagram, we are at jamboradio.scotland or swiperight.hq. And you can also email us on info@jamboradio.co.uk, or again hq.swiperight@gmail.com. So if you're just joining us today, we're talking about the ins and outs of flirting. Are you really as good or as bad at it as you think you are? Please do send us your comments, and we would love to hear from you and share your tips with everybody else. So bouncing back from rejection, let's talk about it. I think that you can't go dating. I mean, you can go dating, but it's hard to go dating without encountering a little bit of rejection, So you've DM'd someone, hello, they've not replied. You've DM'd them, hello, how's your day? They've not replied. Maybe you've said more than, hello, how's your day? Please don't throw the towel in, and now you're adopting a cat and now you're deleting the apps. It's not time to let everything fall down and die. There's still hope yet. So what? You've been rejected. How can a positive attitude towards rejection be a game changer in the flirting journey? It can be everything. It can be the difference between, I was going to say life and death. How dramatic. But learning how to handle rejection gracefully really can strengthen you. Your emotional intelligence can really go up if you know how to do this. You can build resilience, and it can really help you become a more confident and attractive person if you can handle rejection. The first thing is accepting it as a part, like a natural process of dating. It's not you, it's the game. That classic, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. It's the other way around. It's not you, me. It's the lay of the land is how it is. You know, it's a temporary setback, and it's not a reflection on who you are. And I think that once you understand that, you can move on quite quickly. You know, a lesson that you can learn from it, like, okay, so you've been rejected, what can I take away from this? You know, is it the approach that was rejected? Is it the type of person that I'm approaching that keeps rejecting me? Let me learn. You know, look at your patterns here. You know, are you like always going after 6-foot kings, you know, and the 6-foot kings are saying, I want my babe to be going to the gym with me at 6 a.m., but you know that you cannot do 6 a.m. at the gym, and so they reject you. But you go again to the next one who also wants the same thing. Learn from that and be like, maybe it's what I'm doing this time. Maybe let me get out of there. But at the same time, don't dwell. You know, some doors are closed for a reason. Adapt to that. Like, don't overly concern yourself about the potential rejection. Like, okay, maybe you've had 5 DMs rejected. Let's move on. Maybe you've approached 3 people in person. Let's move on. You know, there's always the next person. Everything that's worth anything is worth effort. You know, but as well, if you put less pressure on the outcome of, you know, this DM or this approach, you will be more yourself. You know, if you're like, okay, it's not me, it's the other person, because sometimes you're going to be the one doing the rejecting, you know. It's like, think about the time that you've ignored a DM. Think about the time that you've said no to someone. Have you sat there for 3-4 days thinking, wow, I really said no to that person, I hope they're okay? You know, flip that over and be like, that person said no to me, they're not thinking about me, it wasn't about me. So put yourself in both the rejected and the rejector's feet, and you'll be like, you know what, it wasn't about me. You know, recognize that compatibility plays a big game into this rejection game, because I think if you are truly not worried about sort of, what's the word? If you're not worried about the pressure of I might be rejected, right? You're going to put forward your true self. And I think that if you're not worried about your true self being rejected, knowing that, you know, this is just a date, it's not my worth, you're gonna attract the right person. But if you're worried about, if you have this pressure about I don't want to be rejected, you might put forward a performance, and that performance might encourage the wrong type of you might attract the wrong person that you're actually suited for. So be yourself again, as we said earlier, and the right person will be attracted to you, and you will get less rejections if you are attracting the right sort of person. And so finally, I want to talk about flirting across borders. I keep doing this sultry voice, and I really hope that you guys are understanding that it's a nice voice. But how do flirting norms differ kind of globally? You know, we are dating, you know, our company, Swipe Right HQ, we're kind of trying to get cultural dating in Scotland. We're trying to put that in a mix together. So how does flirting across these African borders or Caribbean borders, how does it really differ? Is it even different at all? You can let us know. But certainly I think that there are some things that can be seen as appropriate or even offensive sometimes in flirting, that you might think in your culture, hey, yo, this is how we do it, but someone else might receive that in a totally, you know, jarring way. And, you know, in dating, in flirting, I think that there is, I guess, no rules in the game, but they are rules. There's maybe etiquette that maybe you won't find the rules written down somewhere so that you can read them before your date, but there is some understanding socially that might not cross those borders at the same time. So be aware, be respectful, like don't step on any flirting toes. If you really feel like the person that you're looking to date is, you know, 6 borders away from you, try and Google is free, you know, try and look up what are the cultural norms in that place. You know, do you have any mutual friends that are from that place that the person that you're looking to date is from? You know, ask them some you know, teasing questions. You know, how do I get myself across to this person in a positive way? These things can all really happen. And I think dating culturally across borders, one thing that will translate is consent. Like, let's be honest, this is not a Disney film. You're not going to find a sleeping woman and just kiss her and everyone's going to clap for you. You know, ask for consent. In, you know, you don't have to be robotic about it. You know, you don't have to approach HR with a letter and sign a contract, but certainly there's a normal way to do these things. And I think being respectful of that, it is really important. And I think cultural sensitivity will go a long way, because respecting that can really help people feel more open to who you are and opening to engaging with you. So what is the person across from you like? Where are they from? These things all kind of do matter. You know, do they expect a gift at the date? Or is it actually inappropriate for you to bring a gift? Is it acting shy is what the norm in that situation is, but you are thinking, why is this person being so weirdly shy? But for them, it could be coming across as, wow, this day is going well because I'm really being so shy. Is it like never making the first move and you're thinking, this has been going on for a long time, why is this person not asking me out? But it could be in their place, that's not a done thing. You know, again, when people feel that their cultural identity is being respected, they will be more likely to engage with you in a meaningful kind of way. And also consider cultural expectations regarding gender roles. You know, these vary significantly across borders, right? There's, you know, you can go Dutch, which is some women are 50-50. You know, it's a respect thing. You know, if I'm going to go out with you, I fully expect to be paying 50% of my way. But another person might receive that as like, oh, I would never let someone pay 50% of their way. So who are you dating? Do you know what camp they sit in? There's also, I think, a lot more African cultures. They could be like, women won't even bring their wallet to a date because it's just unheard of to expect them to pay anything on a date. So be mindful of the culture that the person that you're trying to flirt with or date is coming from, and acknowledge those customs. There's loads of things that you can be on the lookout for. Of course, I understand that you could be on a blind date. This would be the first time that you're met this person. You can't convey all these things. You can't understand all these things in one go. But ideally, you've spoken online, or you've seen each other here and there, or even you're getting to know the vibe as you're on this one initial date. And these things can, picking up on all these little cues and, you know, doing all these little things that can really elevate the next date. You know, maybe now the next date you know better, so you kind of do better. But if you don't learn from that first date, then the rejection is surely on their way. You know, there's also some cultural norms that we can talk about. For example, chaperones. Some people are you'd be like, I'm going to ask you on a date, and they'll be like, sure, I'm going to bring my brother, I'm going to bring my sister. Don't let that put you off. If it's putting you off, that's absolutely fine. But if you're not looking to do anything creepy, if someone is 3 tables away from you, that shouldn't stop you from getting to know the person. And you could be missing out on the love of your life because you don't want to have someone maybe not looking over your shoulder, but, you know, maybe this is what will make this other person that you're interested in really comfortable with. And also cultural norms come in when you think about relationship progression and the pace of how things go. For some people, they could expect you to meet after 3 days, you know, after 2 months. Others, it'll be after 3 years. So maybe discuss those things and see what am I comfortable with? Do I even want to bother taking this forward? What is this? It's really up to you. But I think communication is important in flirting, in dating. Communicating with your eyes, with your body, with your words. Most importantly, with your words. You know, we don't want to be body language interpreters, certainly, but both sides of the table, you need to communicate that, especially if you are dating through a real cultural lens where you know that maybe the person across from the table is not from the same place you are. You know, be open, speak about your expectations for how this should go. And so they're not scrambling in the dirt, you know, they're not Googling things that you expect them to know, but they don't know, because you know fine well that they're not from the same place as you. So be mindful and help the person. If you're interested in the person, help the person as well. But yeah, dating in Scotland can really be as diverse or as homogenous as you like. But have you had any kind of cultural misunderstandings on past dates, and how did you smooth these things over? Please do call in and help someone in need. So if you want to join the conversation, again, you can call the studio directly on 0141 530 2787, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp or even a voice note. We love those on 0745 990 6822. And if you're on social media, you can also message us on Facebook on Jambo Radio Scotland. On Twitter, we are at Jambo Radio 1. And on Instagram, we are at jamboradio.scotland or swiperight.hq. Now, you can also email us, of course, at email us info@jamboradio.co.uk or hq.swiperight@gmail.com. So, are we ready for a song, Mr. DJ? Which one do you think the people want to hear? Okay, fantastic. So we've got a great song for you. This was the song I was gonna play earlier, but things were happening. But we're gonna play Hello now. This is a song. I actually will give you the real title. This is Kabza De Small and DJ Mafarisa. Before the song plays, I want you to go into your DMs and I want you to count for me how many you've left unread. Okay, we'll come back and discuss why. So here it is, Hello featuring Maduman. Welcome back. That was Hello by Kabza De Small. Now, the reason I wanted to play this song and I asked you guys to check out your DMs is because I have a question for the people who send DMs like, hello, hey, what is the message? Like, what are you expecting people to say to that? That is top notch. You're getting rejected. Because I think, the word no is a complete sentence, but hello, you're kind of making me feel like you have something else to say. So if in your DMs you've seen a lot of hellos sent and left unread, that is why. Go back and say something else. Help the conversation flow. As I was saying earlier, try and throw the ball so that you encourage someone else to throw the ball back at you. And practice rejection. Go back and remember the maybe the feelings that you felt when that hello was left unread. Now go back and be like, it was left unread because it was on me. I left nothing for them to say. But I just want to say, from one friend to another, this is not considered shooting your shot. So I want us to nip that in the bud, this hello business. But thank you so much for listening. We're about to wrap up the show, but I had another song to play for you, and maybe if we have some time at the end of the show, I will play it. But it's by Kabuza Oriental Choir, and I'd love for you guys to hear it later on. But it's really called Valentine is Coming, and the true online dwellers will know that this has been a classic around this time of year since it first dropped. And there's some new verses out there, and I promise you it's very funny. Please do have a look. But as we conclude today's show, I would like to bring back the special announcement that I heard earlier. DJ. You're so lucky, because I was about to do that with my mouth, but the DJ came through. So yeah, here at Swipe Right, we're all about helping you find love, both virtually and in person. So for this Valentine's Day, we'd like to sponsor a lucky couple with an all expenses paid date. The catch is, it is a blind date. So if you're wanting to go on this date, I'm not looking for couples who are together to come and be paid for. It's going to be a blind date, and you have to be willing to go on this. So in order to take part, you have to be 24 years and over, be willing to travel or live in either Glasgow or Edinburgh. And lads and ladettes, this goes without saying, but you have to be single and be ready to mingle. Okay, so to take part, write into hq.swiperight@gmail.com. Again, that's hq.swiperight@gmail.com, or you can visit our website to find that email. So write to us with your age, your name, and if you're looking for a female or a male, and the age range that you would ideally be happy to go on a date with. And finally, to win the date, you have to send us a line or two of the most creative virtual date night idea that you can think of. And our team at Swipe Right will do the maths and put the 2 most creative people together. So again, to win this date, you have to be single, you have to be over 24, and you have to send in to us your most creative virtual date night idea that you can come up with in 2 lines. You know, if you want to send us a paragraph, I'm not to stop you, but certainly make it as short and snappy as you can, and we'll get you onto that blind date. So we will announce the winners closer to Valentine's Day, but as you know, Valentine's Day is coming. Is the song ready? Do you think we can? Perfect. Okay, guys, this is a song for all the lovers out there, all the yearners, all the ones looking to secure that date. Here is Kabusa Oriental Choir. That was Kabusa Oriental Choir, and they're asking, Valentine is coming, where is your boyfriend? So do check them out on YouTube or Spotify, wherever. They have a very funny songs. But yes, thank you for listening. I was Holly from Swipe Right HQ, and I'll be back next Friday at the same time. Thank you.